Welcome back. Still with me in the studio, human behavior expert Dr. John Demartini. He consults around the world to business leaders. And we asked him to come in here to start looking, and this is what I'd like to get onto now, start looking at how to unlock the wealth that you have in you. And as he's already very succinctly put it, that wealth is not necessarily just financial wealth, because people find or derive wealth in different ways. How do you look at identifying the wealth in you, though? What's the first step you have to take?
Well, the term wealth means well-being, well-being. And as I mentioned in the first segment, that whatever's really truly most important to them is where their wealth is stored. Mm-hmm. And I use an example of a gentleman who had a radio show that had been doing this radio show for 48 years. And I had the opportunity to be on the show. It reached like 50 million people. He'd done many, many people. And in this warehouse where he was 48 years worth of archived interviews on the most amazing celebrities in the world. Mm-hmm. And when he did the show, he was literally asking for donations of $25 in order to keep the show on the air. And he had $1 billion worth of assets sitting in this warehouse, but he couldn't see it. Because his highest value was bringing his radio show to the world and bringing education and intellectual property to the world, but it wasn't money, it wasn't finances.
Right.
So even though he was sitting on a gold mine, he couldn't see it because his values were bringing intellectual property to the world. So I explained to him that his wealth was sitting around him, but he didn't see it. And unless he has a value on actually converting that resource into cash and packaging it, presenting it, and selling it, it's not going to ever be translated into cash. And some people have their wealth in their beauty, and some have it in their spiritual quest, and some people have it in their family, and their family are priceless to them. But everybody has wealth, but it's in what they value. But until you have value on really wealth in the form of money, and understand what money is about exchanging for people's values, it's not likely to be converted into wealth in the form that way. So I have a system that I try to do to help people convert it, for those that are storing it in other forms and not getting depreciated in the form that it could be in, by asking new questions to their life. And maybe I can share those 6 steps that can help.
Let's go. Let's go.
Well, the first thing is, I did an evaluation of people who were billionaires on the planet, mm-hmm. and I've had the opportunity to interview many of them. And in the process of doing it, I found 6 basic things that were common to the billionaires. And I found that even though some people don't have a desire to be all the way to a billionaire, they just like to have maybe some more comfort or some financial independence, these 6 steps can help. One is, what's common to a billionaire is that they have dedicated their lives to building some sort of business that serves ever greater numbers of people. You think of Richard Branson, he's built a series of businesses.
Yep.
Warren Buffett, businesses. So when somebody has a fantasy and an unrealistic expectation and a myth that they're going to be financially independent or wealthy, when they don't have the caringness about humanity enough to go and be of service to people, it's a little bit of a delusion. So they have to have inside them a real desire to get up and how can I be of service? How can I fill the needs of people? Because that's where the source of men comes. If you're not serving needs and filling values, it's just there's no spread of opportunity for economics. So you have to have a real caring about that. Some people think, well, I just want to have the money and I just want to spend it and go to this place. But they don't realize that it really requires somewhat of a work ethic and a caringness about humanity to serve. So the first one is, what are the benefits? You want to ask yourself, what are the benefits of me serving humanity and serving people in ever greater numbers? Because that's the first one. Okay. The second one is the caring to package and present that company or that business in a way that's refined and polished and managed where it's more efficient and effective so it maximizes profits. You have to care about working on the business, not just in the business. And if you do, you care, because by doing that, you make everybody efficient in the business and you provide the best possible quality service in a competitive way that returns the best profit to you and also the best price to them. So you have to care about refining the business to where it's profitable. Okay. Then you have to have the value of actually saving a portion of it and building a cushion in the business for the stability of the business, and also to say, I'm going to save money. You have to value you. So often people who devalue themselves are expecting to have money, but the world doesn't value unless you value you. Mm. And they have to save a portion of their profits and say, I'm worth something, my company's worth something, what I'm serving is worth something, and save it. And you have to develop the habit of saving. And it's not how much you save, it's the habit of saving that begins the process. It's the crystal that starts the generation. And the fourth thing is making sure that you then learn and study and mentorship under investments. Because if you're saving and you preserve the principal but you don't invest, there's not great returns. You have to learn the art, step by step, earning the right to risk, to handle investments and study them. Maybe they're studying in municipal bonds and bonds and maybe blue chip stocks and maybe real estate, but you have to study it and learn and mentor under it. Because the more you learn about something, the more you want to do it. And if you're not up on it, you tend to avoid it. But you have to study it. And if you really have the value of going and building the wealth that way, you will. You will save it and you will start to put it away. There's no risk in saving and investing money, really, when you stop and think about it, because the worst thing can happen is if you have it, you can always pay bills. The next thing is you have to have a desire, true desire, to accumulate something. Because if you don't ever accumulate it, and you just save the money and go spend it on a car, or save it on, for something that's going to be on a trip and it's gone, you're back to zero again. You'll never have your money working for you, and you'll be a slave to it all your life working for it. You have to be able to have a value on actually saving a portion of it, investing it, and accumulating it. And the biggest one is creating a financial cause that you want to leave a legacy on, because the greater your cause in life that you want to build the wealth for, the greater the potential for wealth building. And these are the 6 things. Desiring to build a business that serves people, desire to refine the business until it's profitable, desire to save a portion of it so they have liquidity and cushion for the company, desire to actually invest that money, desire to accumulate it, and the desire to actually contribute back into society with some cause that means meaningful, philanthropic cause. Those are 6 things we found in every one of the billionaires we worked with.
What's your legacy that you would like to leave?
I'm committed to education. I've been doing it for 40 years. Anything that can maximize human awareness and potential, I'm fascinated by and inspired by it, want to deliver to people. My mission is to create my Demartini Institute, which is an educational institute, to create the foundation that I have, which is a charitable organization, and also the prize. I want to model after a Nobel Prize and the Templeton Prize an idea that those people that have made the biggest contribution on the planet, that are doing extraordinary things and feeling the greatest needs, I want to be able to create like a Nobel Prize for them. That's what means something to me, so I set that up, and I want to build that and fund that, because that's what it means to me. I have somebody right now, I've already got selected for the first prize, and it just inspires me, because I was told when I was in first grade I would never be able to read, write, communicate, never amount to thing, never go very far in life. And I'm dropping out and living on the streets when I was a teenager. That's where I almost died. And then I found out that I could do something when I met that gentleman that inspired me. And that was to be able to go and be an intelligent person and be an educator. That meant everything to me. And to see other people go out and do something extraordinary with their minds and their capacities and their skills and care about people and do something, that is what I've always dreamed about doing, and that's what I want to do. That's my legacy.
Do we underestimate ourselves, or does society define that we should underestimate ourselves?
Well, I always say that people have a true magnificence inside them, but they don't recognize it because they keep comparing themselves to others instead of comparing their actions to their own dreams.
Yeah.
And we don't, anytime you subordinate to the outside people and think that somehow you don't have the intelligence or the beauty or the handsomeness or the skills or whatever than others, you will tend to inject their values into your life. You'll compare yourself to theirs. As Freud said, you'll create a superego that will judge your own actions. You'll doubt yourself. You'll play small and shrink. You'll end up at a shrink instead of expand and shine and do something magnificent with your life. So we're here to do something magnificent. We all have it. Nothing's missing. I have an exercise that I do with young boys and girls that have come from different townships. And we go in there and we ask them, who's their hero? Who are the people that they look up to that they think are amazing? And we say, now, what is it about them that you admire? And we make them list those. And they say, now, where do you have that in your life? And they go, well, I don't have that. I said, look again. Where do you have those traits in your life? And I found out going through the Oxford Dictionary, looking at myself and looking at my students, that we all have every trait. We just have it in different forms. If we compare it to other people, we won't recognize it. So I had these young people look and find out where they have the skills, the desire to serve, where their wealth is. And they usually are brought to tears when they have the realization that they have it. It's just in a form they've never seen. And the moment they do, when they value themselves and see that in themselves, they start to give themselves permission to contribute to the world. And when they do, they see new possibilities, a bigger vision. And when you value you, the world begins to value you. And the world around you changes the second you change your perspective of the world and yourself in the world.
How do you determine your own value?
Well, your life demonstrates your values. So it's not what, if you ask somebody, you know, right in front, well, what's your values? They will usually give themselves a delusional answer. And that's usually what they think it should be, or what they wish it would be, or what they hope it would be. I've developed what I call the 13 value determinants that help determine what your life demonstrates. So I look at how you fill your space. Because you tell me things that are not important to you, you want out of your space. Things that are important, you keep in your space. So how do you really, what's in your space? Is it research materials? Is it pictures of kids? Is it technology? What's really there? Because you fill your space with that which is really important to you. Then how do you spend your time? Because you always make time for things that are important and you run out of time for things that aren't.
Yeah.
Where do you spend your energy and what energizes you? When you're doing something you love to do, the time goes by and you have more energy at the end of the day than when you started. And where do you spend your money? And what do you always find money for? People, I've seen women that don't pay their bills, that they get their shoes, because they have a value on their shoes. You know? I think their previous lifetime was maybe a centipede or something. But the reality is that they find money for things that are important to them. And then you look at where are you most ordered in your life? Because you tend to bring order around things that are valuable and have chaos around things that are waste. And then you look at where you're most disciplined and where nobody has to remind you to do something and where you're inspired to just go do it. You don't need ever reminding, no motivation for it. And then you look at what do you think about how you want your life that's coming true? And what are you visualizing about how you want your life that's coming true? And what are you internally dialoguing to yourself about and talking to yourself about how you want your life that's coming true? And what do you keep wanting to bring the conversations to when you're talking to people that no matter what, you keep bringing the conversation to? And then you look at what is it that inspires you in your life and the people that inspire you, what's common to them? And then what is the goals that you have that you've kept for a consistent period of time that you show evidence of coming true in your life? And the last one is, what is it you spontaneously, if you go into a bookstore or a library, what's your beehive to? What are you going to? What do you keep wanting to read and fill your mind with? Is it fashion? Is it education? Is it studies? Is it finances? Those are the 13 criteria that I look, because that's what your life demonstrates. Once I compile those and summarize those and prioritize those, it gives you what I call a hierarchy of values, a set of priorities you're running your life by. And when people identify that, they kind of look and they go, God, no wonder my life's the way it is. And then they see where money is on it. And they find out it's not at the top always.
So in other words, these things are all around us, we're just not recognizing them.
Well, our world is being expressed by what's important to us, but we're the last one to see it. Because it's like we're a fish in the sea looking for the water. We're not seeing the obvious in our lives because we are injecting so many idealisms and values of other people's into our life that we can't see our own magnificence.
Doctor, we're out of time. Are there any websites that people can go to find out more about what you've been talking about now?
Yes, you can go to drdemartini.com and they can go and determine their values. There's a little checklist there. You can go in there and you can actually go to the menu on it that says determine your values, and it shows you how to do that and help you do that in your life. There's a vast amount of educational materials on there, written materials, radio shows, television shows, many things on there for people to help their lives by. And of course, Facebook, I try to do my best to do something inspiring every day for people.
Thank you very much for being the inspired person that you are and for visiting us this evening.
Thank you.
Nice to have you in the studio. Dr. John Demartini, that's the website address once again. You can go there and find out more. Certainly been a fascinating conversation from my side.